How are you guys doing today? Welcome back to Shakir Adair's Fashion History. I have not done one of these in a long time. I'm back to doing it now. So let's just, um, how are you guys doing? Like, let's talk about it. How are you guys doing? Everything like that. So today we're gonna be talking about Marilyn Monroe's life in the '60s. Today, this year it's coming up on her 60th anniversary of her passing. Whew, sorry, y'all. It is literally. Let me take the time. It's literally 3:30 in the morning right now, and I've been working on this for like at least like an hour or two now. So yeah, it's pretty late. So if you hear me yawning or like I'm sluggish, just know what it is. So um, yeah, so it's coming up on her 60th anniversary of her passing. Um, it's June 10th, so her birthday was June 1st, so it would have been her 96th birthday. Um, and like I said, it's coming up on 60 years since her passing. She passed in 1962, and it is now 2002, which means 2012 it would have been her 50th, and then 2002 would have been her 40th. So let's get into this. So we're gonna be detailing mostly like her life in the 60s and how that goes and all of that stuff and whatnot, and talking about her fashion sense, her style, like her little things that she used in the '60s up until her death. So let's get into it. So one thing about Marilyn in the '60s, one of the things that you notice in the '60s with Marilyn is her hair. She had a really like dramatic hair change in the '60s. So these two photos right here, this one and this one, are from the Misfits, which was her last completed film, not her last film, but her last completed um aired in the movie theater film. I believe this was a wig, but it's not too far along from her real hair, which was right here, which she probably had clip-ins that you never know. But she had a more mature style in the '60s. Everything started to change in the '60s. Even her makeup look, started to change a little bit in the '60s. She like her, her everything. Her weight dropped. She became sorry. She became less. I want to say less fully figured in the '60s. She was still curvy, of course, but she lost weight. Now, this is what I'm talking about. She went from like everything changed. This was her in the '50s and this was her in the early '60s. You can literally see how the change became. Like I said, she lost weight, like the fullness in her face dropped. Um, but still so gorgeous. And what's so crazy about it is that it's like everything became more mature in the '60s. This was her. She was in her 20s here. She was in her 30s here. So you could see her maturing, over time, and she wanted to leave this ditzy blonde, um, Betty Boop image, and go for this more sophisticated, um, less sex symbol image. Marilyn loved being sexy. Obviously, what woman doesn't want to be sexy? I mean, literally, every woman I've seen wants to be sexy. You know, but she, even with the role that she got in her last movie, which was Something's Got to Give. She was playing a mother of two that they were children. Uh, but she was playing like a mother to more so like um you know they weren't really toddlers. They were like 5-year olds, 6-year olds, and stuff like that. So like I said, the hairstyle changed. She went from more of a curlier look to a straighter look. Still curly, but it wasn't like in like the you can literally see the difference here. It's kind of hard to explain, but you can literally see the difference. Um, so yeah, like this sex pot image into more of this like motherly looking image of business taking care of business image, and I love this. You can literally see the transformation here, like from the makeup to the hair we're gonna get into the clothes, but everything changes here. So, in the '50s, Marilyn was really married most of her life. She was married for the majority of her life. She didn't really date. And when she did date, she married the men. So, in the early '50s, she married Joe DiMaggio, who was one of the most famous baseball players in the world. He played for the New York Yankees. He is a native New Yorker, I believe from Brooklyn or the Bronx, one of those. Um, and then after, well, that marriage was pretty like it was. You got the two most famous people from each of their fields, the two most famous baseball player in the world, the most famous um, actress in the world, and it was pretty larger than life, a marriage, but it was abusive at the same time. I feel like they were true lovers at the wrong time, and then you go from their divorce in 1955 into her dating in 1956 Arthur Miller, who again was another larger than life character, who was the most famous playwright in the world. He wrote Death of a Salesman, so literally one of the biggest in the world. So yeah, which was also a pretty, that marriage also ended in divorce. There are allegations of him being verbally abusive. No one really knows, but also in this marriage, she had, I believe, two miscarriages. So yeah, I do apologize for the yawning. Like I said, it's like damn near 4 in the morning, but she had a lot going on in that marriage. But in the 60s, girl, she was finally free. Arthur Miller, their divorce was finalized, I believe, in 1960. No, 1960, like 1961, their divorce was finalized, and she like finally was able to like go out and just, be her, like just be free. She wasn't attached to no guy. Like she was out there. Of course, there were the Kennedy allegations and Kennedy rumors, but at the end of the day, I look at that all as rumors, and really nobody knows if it was true or not. Obviously, she had connections with the Kennedys to be performing at Happy Birthday at his birthday dinner and whatnot. Also, did you guys see Kim Kardashian wear the original Happy Birthday dress? That's a lot. um, but yeah, so she definitely had ties to them, but the links of them being involved sexually, we don't know. So yeah. So in the 50s, mid 50s, or when she was married to Arthur Miller, they had a beautiful condo apartment in Manhattan in Midtown, around Sutton Place, closer to the lake, close the river. I'm sorry, in New York. Going east. So it's more so like Midtown, Upper East Side is where they lived, and it was 444 57th Street in New York City. Um, Beautiful apartment. Obviously, these are some pictures. Um, when Marilyn lived there with Arthur Miller. I actually believe this is the wrong picture. I don't believe that's in that apartment. This is for the 7 year itch, so that's not the right picture. But the rest of these are from the apartment. So you here see 444, 444. This is her leaving the elevator, and everybody knew where she lived. Literally, paparazzi, they knew where she lived. The reporters, the gossip columnists, they literally all knew where she lived. It was so public. They knew where she lived. Fans would wait outside to take pictures. James Haspel, who I wonder is still living today, he would stand outside in the 50s and take pictures with Marilyn outside her apartment. So obviously they had to, because there's pictures being taken of her and Arthur right there, and then there's a picture of her leaving her entire apartment, like they're inside of it. And then she had Life magazine. Life magazine came into the apartment and did a photo shoot in there with her, or took some pictures during like a little kickback or what have you. So yeah, she had the apartment, and these are some pictures of the apartment when it was listed for um to be sold or rented. This is the floor plan. Now I'm not 100% sure. I know this was from her apartment and this was, but I'm not 100% sure if these two are. But I believe almost every floor in that apartment was kind of the same. So this is a like floor plan of what I believe was her apartment. You walk in and you got the little bedrooms and whatnot, and the living room right here. And honestly, it's really gorgeous. It's really Upper East Side New York. It's really more so wealthy, and I love apartments and condos like this. Listen, I'm from Chicago. So in the Gold Coast, which is the seventh richest urban neighborhood in the country, I'm always passing beautiful structures like that. So it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's opulent, it's like it's fitting of like of someone of the wealthy, and yeah. So this is gorgeous, So that's the New York apartment that they had, and I believe um when they divorced, she kept the apartment because it's when she would go to, I remember when she went to New York to perform Happy Birthday to John F. Kennedy. She was at her New York apartment at 444. So I'm not 100% sure, unless that was a hotel or something. I'm not honestly 100% sure, but I do believe, I think she still had the apartment or was still renting the apartment when, after they divorced and this. So obviously, Marilyn and Arthur Miller, they divorced. It was a really toxic relationship verbally. Um, and plus again, like with the miscarriages and whatnot, it just wasn't the perfect fit. So it was all over the news, all over the headlines. you know um Miller walks out on Marilyn. Marilyn and Miller all washed up. Marilyn and Miller call it quits. I'm not sure who divorced who. I know with the Joe DiMaggio situation, it was Marilyn who divorced Joe, but I'm not sure who did in this one. I'm honestly not 100% sure. That's really none of our business, to be honest. But anyway, it was all over the front page, the Daily News, the New York Mirror, the Los Angeles Mirror, the Chicago Tribune. Like it was everywhere that they were getting a divorce. Um, so yeah, she called it quits, and when she called it quits, she um finally bought her a home in Brentwood, California. It's about, I want to say, I don't want to say it's actually in Los Angeles County. It probably is, honestly. But I want to say it's a suburb of Los Angeles. It's right outside LA, and it's actually not too far from her grave, to be honest. It's really not. You pass her grave, go to Brentwood or the Westwood Village Memorial Cemetery, you literally pass it. Because I've been there. I'll show you pictures. But yeah, it's a gorgeous, beautiful home. It's a Spanish, I want to say Spanish home. If you look at a lot of the homes in California, Beverly Hills, most like in the more so richer, like more so in the more uh, higher end, upper class areas, the homes are like they're pretty Spanish. I want to say. Um, so this is at 12305 Fifth Helena Drive in Los Angeles, Brentwood, Los Angeles. So it's beautiful. It's not like a mansion. It's a pretty big house, I'll tell you that. But it's not really like a mansion. It's 2,900 square feet, and it is a 4 bedroom, 2 bath home. So, it's not like her other, like the other actresses of the time where they were getting like the big opulent mansions like Elizabeth Taylor and all the other actresses, they're getting these big mansions and stuff like that. So so yeah. So it's a gorgeous place. It's a beautiful pool right here. Um and look at that beautiful lawn. Gorgeous. Obviously, there's no upstairs, and this is the driveway and the gate entering. It's pretty, it's pretty blocked off right there. You can't really see much, especially with all the trees and stuff. Right there now, it's pretty. And yeah. So this is me actually when I went to Los Angeles. There you see me. I'm actually the guy didn't take the picture right. Bless his heart. Shout out to my boy Shane from LA. Like that's my homeboy. He was an Uber driver that I met and we had bonded, we connected. Anytime I'm in LA, I'm gonna definitely hit him up. Shout out to my boy Shane. Love you. Um but her house is actually more so to the side over here. But yeah, this is me and by her house. This is actually me with her grave. And then this is a picture I took at 12305 Helena Drive. And you can kind of see the window right there. And if I'm not, I don't know if I'm 100% sure about this, but I believe a TikTok star named Jasmine. Well, it's literally it's like literally the TikTok star that like like looks like Marilyn. Like she literally like looks like Marilyn. I think she lives. I don't know. I think she lives there now. I'm not 100% sure. I'm probably wrong. But that I know that house is somebody else's house now because it's not on the market anymore. So yeah, that is me with my Maryland trip. This is actually the deed and the papers to her house. These are available online. You can look them up yourself. This is in January. I want to say that's God. I zoomed in hella like January 17th, 1962. And this is actually signed to Marilyn Monroe. She was using Marilyn Miller at the time, um, before her marriage. So yeah, this is right when she was after she was divorced because it's Marilyn Monroe. So yeah, this is the paperwork for her home, the City National Bank and LA. The loans and whatnot they were doing. I'm just talking right off the top of my head, honestly. But yeah, so this is all available online. And if you look at the Marilyn Monroe collection, I don't remember his name, but he has some like beautiful documents and whatnot. So we're gonna take a peek at that later on when it comes to the fashion. But yeah, and this is the inside of the home. Marilyn was really inspired and in love with Spanish culture, um, in a way that was not appropriating it. She was more so appreciating Spanish culture. So it was a Spanish colonial revival home. So a lot of the stuff in there she purchased herself. So Marilyn went to Mexico and she picked out a lot of the tiles. She picked out the tiles right here, and right here at the fireplace too. I believe she picked. I don't know. I don't know if she picked out. The chandeliers are probably new, most likely. But I know she picked out a lot of stuff in here, along with this and the stuff back there. All of that she picked out on her own because she was the only person living there, besides Eunice Murray, who was Marilyn's housekeeper and her maid. But other than that, it was Marilyn who was the only one living there. I don't even know if Eunice was living there. Was Eunice living there? I know almost everything about Maryland, and like a lot of the stuff has like flown off the top of my head. But I believe Eunice was living there, but I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah. So a lot of the stuff Marilyn picked out in here. She would do shopping trips. She would go to Mexico just to go shopping for her home because she purchased a Spanish colonial revival home. She wanted to appreciate the Spanish culture and put Spanish things in her house, make her home really Spanish and Mexican. Um, have that feel to it, and I love that about Maryland. So it's gorgeous. These are some photos of her inside the home. Um, those windows, these windows, like you can kind of see those. When you let me go back to my. Oh wait, shit. Yeah. So like with these windows, like the windows right there, kind of you can kind of see, the windows right here that she's sitting in, and you could. This is like the perfect example of her style change. Everything, everything became more mature. Her hair, like again, it's still curly, but it's not like all curled up. It's still like a little bit straighter here. Her style has changed tremendously, and we're gonna get into that. So with Marilyn's style, Marilyn wore a lot in the '60s. It's like when Emilio Pucci came on the scene. Like late '50s was when Emilio Pucci came on the scene. But in the '60s, he really blew up. He had that '60s like vibe to his clothes. Like he really did have that big like '60s vibe to him. I mean to the brand. Well, to him too, I guess. So Marilyn wore a lot of damn Pucci. Like she fell in love with the brand. It's Italian. The blouse material is beautiful. A lot of it's silk. So she wore a lot of the blouses and whatnot. Marilyn was a big Pucci fan. So right here is a whole collection of Marilyn's Pucci garments. Her um blouses and dresses and whatnot. This is actually from the 1999 Christie's auction in New York City. So gorgeous Poochie. She loved Poochie. And this is another. This is another Poochie collection of hers. Take note of this dress right here. Actually, these two dresses. Take note of these two dresses right here because you're gonna see these in the future. These two dresses right here on the end. You're gonna see those in the future. Sorry, it's like nighttime. I can barely see my keyboard. Okay. So, yeah. So this is like Marilyn in the '60s. Um, this dress right here, I just told you to keep an eye out for it because it's this one in the '60s. That one. So yeah, this is some photos of Marilyn wearing Poochie. I've been to the Hollywood Museum, so I've seen this outfit right here on display. It's gorgeous up front. Obviously, it's been washed and ironed and stuff, and put on a whole damn mannequin. But it's gorgeous. Like, look at that. Like, I kid you not, that's beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful in person. If you guys ever go to the Hollywood Museum, it's in the old Max Factor building in Hollywood. It's so like I was in awe. I was so in awe. And here's another one. Like again, like I said, Marilyn's like her everything was maturing. Everybody was saying she lost her looks and this and the third. Although I will say she did lose some fullness in her face and she lost weight and she looks phenomenal. She didn't lose her looks. She was growing into her womanhood. She was leaving the 20s Marilyn, behind us, like your 20s, your younger essence. She was going into the mature, like I got business to take care of. Look, so I'm loving it. It's more motherly. It's more mature. I'm loving it. So this was Marilyn's signature look. This blouse right here. Told you to pay attention because it's this one right here. This right there, green and white. So I told you guys. Oh wait. So sorry. This was Marilyn's basically like her signature look. In the '60s. The hair, straighter hair with the bumped curled ends, more like a bob. The a silk Emilio Pucci blouse, some capri pants, and Salvador Ferragamo shoes. Marilyn wore a lot of Ferragamo shoes. She wore a lot of Ferragamo heels. Back then, I'm not too sure of the price of them now, but anywhere Ferragamo can cost anywhere between I want to say like a good couple hundred. Um, I know a lot of Ferragamo like the sandals are like 300 and like heels. Basically for heels like this back in the day, they probably were like 100, but Ferragamo heels like that now about like 700, $800. They probably can even range to 1,000 depending on the material and like depending on like how limited edition and how long they're gonna be. I don't know, but so she wore a lot of Ferragamo shoes. She wore a lot of Pucci and Ferragamo in the '60s. So this is basically her signature look, and she always kept a glass of champagne in her hand. She was always drinking around this time. Marilyn, I don't want to say she was an alcoholic, but anytime and anywhere in the '60s, any picture of Marilyn in the '60s, like from '60 to '62, she had a glass in her hand, which was pretty concerning to think about. Honestly, it's kind of concerning. But she had a glass of something in her hand. It was most likely champagne because she loved Dom Perignon. But it was a glass, always a glass in her hand. But this was basically her signature look for the '60s. Most people, when they think of Marilyn, they're used to the blonde bombshell, the immortalized 1950s pinup image of like these sexy skirts and um, swimsuits, Marilyn, and Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and the 7-Year Itch, Marilyn. But this is like Marilyn's Marilyn, like '60s Marilyn. This is most of the stuff that she would wear. Her signature '60s look. Again, so like I said, this is some more Poochie that she's in. This is actually what I was talking about, guys. When I said she must have kept the apartment in New York because this is the same day that she went to John F. Kennedy's birthday. This was like the rehearsal the day before. And then she's wearing this Poochie blouse, and then she was in New York, so I believe this is at 57th Street, 4440, 444, 57th Street in New York. I believe that's what that was. But this is a Poochie blouse, and this is owned by the Marilyn Monroe collection. Y'all check him out; he's amazing. He always has some good clothes. I think he has a the largest privately owned Marilyn Monroe collection in the world. I follow him on Instagram. I love watching his lives. I love like just scrolling through his page. I love going to his YouTube. Like he's so like I'm the type of person one day where I want to own, I want to own like a whole like stuff from like Elizabeth Taylor and but with Marilyn, since she's so immortalized out of all the old Hollywood stars, I would love to own something by her. So I watched his page for like inspiration and stuff. So yeah. And but also in this time in the '60s, Marilyn wore a lot of sunglasses. She wore a lot of those cat eye sunglasses. She wore a lot of the cat eye sunglasses and a scarf around her head. She loved that beautiful scarf tied around her head. That was also another one of her. That was like her signature going out look. That was more. That was a lot of Marilyn. And over here, to your right, was Marilyn when she took her trip to Mexico. She was in Mexico right there. She was staying at the Hilton in Mexico, and I believe that she wasn't there to shop personally, but I believe she did do some shopping there for her home because actually this was in February of 1962. So yeah, she definitely did some shopping for her home and whatnot. She's also wearing Amelia Pucci. And fun fact, this is the same dress that Marilyn is rumored to be buried in. They said that she was buried in a green Pucci dress with a scarf tied around her head. So this is the same dress that Marilyn is buried in. So yeah, this is also another signature look of Marilyn. The Ferragamo shoe, the the capri pants, and a beautiful blouse. I love this outfit. This was Marilyn at the Miami airport. This actually was her flying to Mexico. I believe she was in Miami, and then she flew to Mexico. Um, I think, or she was flying back to LA. But I love this look. Look at that. It's gorgeous. She got the passport in the hand, and what was making the front pages was this, y'all. To the freaking right. She, like I said, she was single. She was out there, just single, living free. But again, she started going back to Joe DiMaggio, who was her first husband. She was, you know how it is, y'all. When you're just like I'm not, when you end up going back to your ex, literally, Marilyn. If Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck can go back, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio can go back. So they went back together and they were dating again. If you ever seen The Secret Life of Marilyn Monroe, they portray it as they were starting off linking back up just for more sexual practices because I guess she felt more comfortable doing that with him since she already knew him. Um, but there's also rumors of them talking about getting remarried. And also, when Marilyn died, Joe DiMaggio literally took complete control of the funeral. He was the one who was barring out people from the funeral. He felt as though like a lot of the industry had destroyed her. So he was in control of the entire funeral. He was sending her flowers every year until he died. So they were really much in love. I do feel like he was her one true love, but when they were married, it just wasn't the right time. But she took him back, and they were always there for each other, as you can kind of see. So yeah. And here are a few things that Marilyn, like a lot of the like last things she owned. So again, we have the Ferragamo shoes. Marilyn took great care of her skin. She used a lot of Erno Laszlo skincare products. Erno Laszlo, New York. They had a whole institution in New York, and she would I believe she would go and get her skin treated and whatnot. I believe they closed. It's definitely been closed. Uh, but yeah, she always she and that Erno Laszlo is still available for purchase um, online and in certain stores. But yeah, she used Erno Laszlo. She always kept great care of her skin. Her signature perfume was Chanel number five. Here's a thing of Chanel number five that she owned a bottle or just maybe just a box of Chanel number five. She Marilyn wore fur. She wore a lot of fur back in the day. So here's one of her like fur coats or like little fur like throws and whatnot. And here is a trunk that Marilyn owned, a Louis Vuitton trunk, or as people say it in America, Louis Vuitton. It's a Louis Vuitton trunk that Marilyn owned. I don't believe there was much in it or anything in it, but it was found and it was set up for auction in Julian's in 2006. So yeah, that's Marilyn Monroe's Louis Vuitton trunk. These are just a couple things that she owned, so you can get a feel of like the type of like stuff that she liked. Marilyn wasn't too expensive. She wasn't too flashy, but she liked nice things, especially if she could afford it. But Marilyn was a really humble person. She wasn't like Elizabeth Taylor where she was humble but wanted the freaking excess, wanted that larger than life. I want this Louis Vuitton, I want this, I want that. Marilyn was more so like, I like it, but I'd rather be more so of a good person. Like I don't really care about money, I just want to be loved. That was more so Marilyn, and that's what I loved about Marilyn. So that we have reached the end, and honestly I just want to say, like, I wish Marilyn could have lived at least to like maybe at least to 65, because it would have been really interesting to see Marilyn in the 60s. Once we all know she died August 5th, 1962. So but it would have just been really interesting to see how Marilyn would have turned out later on in the 60s or maybe in the 70s. I just feel like Marilyn was really on trend with the decades. And if you look at 1940s Marilyn, her hair was more so long. It was longer and it was in those curls of like Rita Hayworth. 50s Marilyn, it was in the signature Marilyn curls, like the pinup curls, Betty Grable type stuff. And then you see 60s when it's going into like that Jackie O type style, and the God forbid your hair should move. Like, I really wish that we could have seen Marilyn in the 60s. Um, I love Marilyn's entire freaking life, honestly, like her style throughout her whole life. But it's something about 60s Marilyn that draws me so into it. 1962 Marilyn, really. It's something that draws me into it. You see her in this poochie, these expensive poochie expensive poochie blouses, and her Ferragamo shoes, and her home. She was really kicking back and living life. She was in the middle of making a movie, and I know that Marilyn dealt with a lot of personal. She dealt with a lot of personal problems. So when she was filming Something's Got to Give, she wasn't showing up, and she was one of the stars, along with Elizabeth Taylor and a few others, who was known to always arrive late. Marilyn would arrive at least like what they said that she would arrive anywhere between 30 minutes to 3 hours late to set. So Marilyn was literally always late to set. Sometimes she just wouldn't even show up. It's a whole documentary on YouTube about Something Got to Give, from like the 90s. Definitely, oops, y'all, child. Let me plug this up. But definitely go check that out. Let me plug this up before my phone dies. My computer dies. You see how embarrassing that was? Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go. There we go. But yeah, it's interesting. So guys, go check that out, guys. Um, yeah, I just wish we could have got to see more. But it's something about 60s Maryland. I feel like with the Maryland that's immortalized in that beautiful Andy Warhol pop art print, I feel like that's image Maryland. It's so gorgeous and it's just beautiful, and everybody wants to be like that. But I feel like when you see Marilyn in 1962 and you're seeing pictures of her out like in California and her poochie and whatnot, and just sitting and enjoying, I feel like it's a more relatable Marilyn. It's a more relatable. No matter if you can afford poochie, no matter if you can't afford poochie, or a beautiful house and right outside of Beverly Hills. it's still more relatable because you're just seeing her in her natural state. You're not seeing her on a movie set. You're not seeing her, walking down the streets of New York or walking down Rodeo Drive. You're just seeing her at home and just chilling, you know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. And I'm gonna be back with more videos. Love you guys.